Hello and welcome to the podcast of Firetop Mountain. You are live with your hosts. This is Stuart Lloyd. Say hello, Stuart.
Hello, Stuart. Hello. It's great to be here.
And you are joined by myself, Alison, Cybe. And it is definitely very good to be here. We've been pretty excited to bring this podcast out to people. So our objective with the podcast of Firetop Mountain is to replay and discuss the classic fighting fantasy game books of the 1980s, going right through to today as well, because we've got a huge selection from the classic era right through to the modern era, don't we?
Yes. Yes. We've picked 5 books each. We'll go through the reasons why we pick them when we do them. They range from the classics to, yes. I'll try not to give away the names of the books, but yes, the very most recent ones.
We can give away the name of the book that we're doing today, can't we?
We can, yes. That'll make the rest of the show a lot easier to do, I think. Yeah.
Because today we have probably one of the most classics that you can get. It was released 5th in the original series, and has been reprinted with each subsequent reprint of the Final Fantasy series to date.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce what we are covering today?
Today we are covering The City of Thieves by Ian Livingstone, and it's very classic Ian Livingstone. If anyone knows what Ian Livingstone is like, they will find everything that Ian Livingstone is famous for in this book.
Pretty much.
In fact,
pretty much everything.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah, well, you chose it. This is one of your choices as well. So
this is yes. We've chosen 5 books from throughout the series, and this is probably one of my top 5 favorites. And of course, it was one that I just knew that we had to cover. The cover on it's lovely as well, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yes, done by the same person who designed Darth Maul.
Was it?
Yeah, I want to say Ian McCaig. That's not something I've got written down in front of me, but I want to say that. And it makes a lot of sense that he also designed Darth Maul when you know what they both look like.
That does. That really makes a whole lot of sense. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
We should probably mention who we are, who these 2 crazy people are that everyone's listening to. As our listeners have no doubt picked up, Stuart knows a heck of a lot about fighting fantasy books in general. Would you like to give yourself a wee bit of an introduction?
Yes. So I'm Stuart Lloyd. Thank you. I discovered fighting fantasy books when I was 7, and they've been a part of my life ever since. And in 2010, I started the blog Lloyd of Gamebooks, and enthusiastically took part in lots of gamebook related stuff that I could find on the internet as much as I could, like the Windhammer competition, and just writing lots of gamebooks and sort of analysing them. And yes, and I'm back doing it. I took a few years in the back seat because I had children and changed jobs and lots of other things, but yes, and now I'm writing my blog weekly again, and I'm glad to be doing more gamebook stuff recently. So yeah, it's great to be here.
And I'll just emphasise, you have written a significant number of game books yourself, like you've mentioned. Would you like to plug any of them?
I could plug my latest one, which is more of a sort of solo RPG, but the system will enable you to play the game books I release with it. So you could either play it as a sort of crawl and then the game books, or just the game book. So it's called Scrawl, which is short for solo crawl. And it was a big job because I wanted to make it like a whole world where you could do a hex crawl and then random dungeons and everything. So it took a while, but it's currently on drive-through and itch for pay what you want, because I'm still sort of changing bits and pieces. And then eventually I will release game books to go with it. So that's my latest release, which, yeah, I've been working on it for a while, so I'm actually quite proud of that one. That's my latest one.
That's absolutely fantastic. And we will of course be popping a link into that on the YouTube thing when we upload this to YouTube.
Brilliant. Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, enjoy it. You can get it for free. So yeah. And similar to yourself, I also came to the Final Fantasy series at a very young age. We're both natives to the UK, and would have probably started reading them around about the same time. Around about 2010, I also started a blog on online, and since then have gone into writing freelance in the roleplay game industry. I've written for companies including Paizo, World of Darkness, and on games including Star Trek Adventures, and a whole lot more. Writing and gaming is something that the two of us are very keen on, and it's lovely that we and a whole lot of people who work in this field, in this industry, have the Final Fantasy series as kind of parts of our background. Oh yes, indeed. Yes, it's normally what I see it on Twitter. A lot of gaming people putting Fighting Fantasy references. It's it's great. It seems to be people's gateway into gaming.
May your stamina never fail.
Exactly.
Speaking of stamina, I've heard that you did a particularly good set of rolls for this playthrough of City of Thieves.
Yes, I did.
That was a smooth transition there.
Exactly, that was good. I like that. I can see why you do all the podcasts and all the technical stuff. So if anyone knows Fighting Fantasy books, they know that the most important statistic in most of the books is skill, and I managed to get 12 skill, which was very lucky. And I got 22 stamina as well and 10 luck, and that was purely fair. Before anyone, tells things that I've been sort of poking the dice or something, or rolling them harder, or rolling them softer, or whichever one people think gets you higher rolls. So they were my stats, and I seem to remember a lot about City of Thieves because I remember that would be okay, because there are some Ian Livingstone books that would be still a terrible score for. But City of Thieves is okay with skill of 12, because the hardest opponent I fought had a skill of 11, so I managed to get through them okay.
I think Ian was feeling particularly kind when he wrote City of Thieves.
I think he was, yes, compared to some of the later books. I think City of Thieves is quite tame for an Ian Livingstone book. So so that sort of makes it a lot very enjoyable, especially because in the first sort of part of the book there's not really much consequence. You're just sort of wandering around the city, so I quite enjoy that.
That's very true. Yeah, it is very much City of Thieves is kind of a game of two halves, but we can expand on that and discuss how the cities kind of map, as it were, contributes to that. First of all, we've mentioned the stats. Maybe not all of our listeners know a little bit about how the stats work in the Fighting Fantasy books. Essentially, you create a character, as you play through, and you set 3 statistics for them. Skill essentially handles your combat experience, so your character would be an expert fighter. Your second, and probably the most one of the most important ones, is stamina, which measures your health. And I managed to get a mere 16 for stamina, which was not so good. No, but that's fine. That's fine. My character more than made up for it with the third score, which is luck. And luck is it's kind of a resource as well as an attribute, isn't it?
It is, yes. I mean, there's occasions where you can spend luck in the fighting fantasy books, and it goes down the more you use it. So and it covers lots of things. It covers sort of, will you find something, or will you get affected by a spell, or is something going to turn out in your favor that's not really based on skill? So for example, in this book, I got unlucky because a dog's chain attached to its kennel was just long enough for it to bite me, and that was purely down to luck.
Yeah. And the thing is, throughout the book and throughout each of the adventures in the Fighting Fantasy series, it will routinely ask you to roll against your luck, to test your luck, and each time you do so, you lose 1 point of luck. So it becomes progressively more and more likely that luck will run out and go against you. So my character started off with buckets of luck, and by the end of my adventure, I had basically none of it left. But that is the way it goes. It's a cruel world, isn't it?
It is. Yes, it's better to be lucky than to be good in a fighting fantasy book sometimes. Yes, especially in this one where you can get away with murdering quite a few people and no one's going to bat an eyelid. So
well, that's because you're in the city port of Thieves itself, aren't you?
Exactly. Well, it seems that anything goes in the city of Thieves. So casual murder and theft being the city of Thieves is it seems like an everyday occurrence. So so it was good.
So what was it that led? And because we both played through this adventure, so we both started on the same block and probably followed a significant amount of the same path through the adventure. And one of the things we'll be looking at is how our journeys diverged, how the choices that we made differed from each other. So would you like to tell us how the journey of City of Thieves begins?
The background, it starts with you not even in the City of Thieves. You're in a lovely little village called Silverton, which is quite pleasant for Titan. But there's a dark secret. The evil wizard Zanbar Bone, maybe demon or something. Well, he's evil and he uses magic, and that's about as much as we need to know about him. He came to Silverton a few days ago and he demanded the mayor's daughter for some reason, and the mayor wasn't very happy about this and told him to go away. But then Zanbar Bone started sending his moon dogs to kill people.
I love the name of those moon dogs.
What's that, sorry?
I love the name of those moon dogs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's good. Moon dogs. They're very evocative.
They don't sound particularly evil, but they sound awesome.
Well, yes. I mean, maybe. See their bottoms a lot, I guess. There we go.
I just kind of like pictured them on tour with David Bowie, just headlining David Bowie and the Moondogs.
That'd be good. I can see that happening. Yeah, especially like the sort of Ziggy Stardust David Bowie.
Yeah, exactly. But apparently they are quite lethal, though, the Moondogs, because you get into a bit of a scrape with one fairly near the start, don't you?
You do it, yeah, you do at some point. In fact, that's the hardest opponent that you have to face in this book. A skill 11 opponent, which is a bit annoying. So Ian Livingstone occasionally throws in these really strong opponents that you can't avoid, which, well, it doesn't have to be annoying. It's kind of annoying because at the beginning of every fighting fantasy book they say anyone can succeed no matter what your statistics are, how weak your initial rolls are, and you could start with a skill of 7, and I've crunched some numbers on this. Basically, well, if your skill is 3 lower than your opponents, you've got a 15% chance of hitting them. So you're basically doomed. Yes. I can't remember if it's 4 lower. It's going to be worse if your skill is 7. So yeah. So I don't know if Ian Livingstone was being mean or if he didn't do any number crunching when he was writing these. Probably a bit of both. They had to crank these out at a fairly quick rate at the time.
I mean, you want your adventurer to feel positive while they're charging off to a suicide mission.
Exactly. Well, yes, exactly. You got to tell them that. If you were told that you were going to die straight away, then you wouldn't bother, would you? So you'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be great. You've got this covered with your skill of 7.
Yep. Don't worry. Just go and fight the moon dogs. Don't worry about the Zambar bone. Is he actually an easier fight than the moon dogs?
What he's not. Yeah, you don't even fight him with the stats.
Oh no, you don't. Yes, because we'll explain that as we get along, won't we?
Yeah. In fact, actually, when I fought the Moondogs, I was thinking that this is actually the proper boss fight, because after them, it's all a case of do you have this and do you have that. So it's quite funny. The boss is not really the boss fight.
Interesting thing about Zambar Bone, he purports to be a wizard or a mage or a warlock. He does look like a skeleton. His name is very apt. I think he might be a necromancer.
That would explain a lot, because he does have a lot of undead creatures in his tower. So yes, that's probably the best word to describe him. And yes, and he's got Zambar Bone's a good name. There's a picture of him. Well, here's a picture of him at the front, and there's a picture of him in the book. And it's a skeleton with a crown on, basically, and lots of spiky bits coming out of his skull, which is very Darth Maulish. So he's also called the Night Prince. I don't think it goes into too much detail what he actually is, if he was human or a lich or some other kind of creature. But
he wants to annoy the people of Silverton.
He wants the mayor's daughter, which. Yeah, I mean, I thought about this. I didn't really put much thought of it when I first read it as a child, but I assume it's for some sacrifice. I assume he doesn't want to marry her or something, or
almost certainly for a sacrifice.
Yeah, but yes, but then he got me thinking about, well, it's not like some kind of royal bloodline. It's like a mayor, and he was probably voted in, so it's not like he's got any special blood, unless Zambar Bone's been doing some research and he's actually got some royal blood that we don't know about. So
it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
So the mayor basically tells us to head off to the titular city of Thieves, to Port Blacksand itself, to seek the help of the wizard. Now, how do you pronounce? I pronounce Nicodemus. How do you pronounce?
Pronounce Nicodemus as well.
Okay, so, perfect.
Yes, because Nicodemus knows how to defeat him. So
Is that how it's,
yeah.
Is that how the Nicodemus character is pronounced in Secret of Nim?
I wouldn't know. I've not actually seen that. Is that the one with the mice?
That is the one with the mice.
It is.
There's no mice in City of Thieves.
No, there isn't. No, there's one in Warlock of Firetop Mountain, but not City of Thieves. Yes, I haven't seen that film for ages, and I only saw a bit of it. I'm not sure if it was a secret. I don't know if there's a franchise. They were trying to get out of a combine harvester. They were trying not to get sliced up by it.
I've got to be honest, it's been a few years since I've seen it too.
Well, there we go. I'm sure Nicodemus is the name. I want to think it's from some kind of ancient story as well, but I can't think of it.
I think it is. So Nicodemus, who lives in Port Blacksand itself, and hence we get sent off to this lovely mission. Port Blacksand is basically the archetypal hive of scum and villainy in the fighting fantasy books.
Yes, exactly, and that's probably the reason why a lot of Ian Livingstone adventures sort of end up going there for a little bit at least. I mean, this one introduces it, so most of the adventure is in Port Blacksand, but things like Temple of Terror sort of visit it, and then Night Dragon you visit it, and then he's put Port Blacksand in a lot of his later books as well, like Assassins of Alancia and things. So yes, I mean, it's a because it's a hive of scum and villainy. It's a very popular place to set adventures.
It also I've always found it quite comparable to Care, the City Port of Traps from Jackson's Sorcery series. But even so, it feels very different. They both have a different atmosphere to them.
Yes, I know. I see exactly what you mean. It's so Care's they've got their own distinct sort of features. Like Care's got the portals that lead to the sewers, and the red eyes and various other.
Oh, don't remind me of the sewers.
Oh yes, the Care sewers or the Blacksand sewers?
The Care sewers.
Yes, yeah, I think they're worse than the Blacksand sewers. The Blacksand sewers seem quite nice because you get a nice tidal wave of filth and then the slime monster. So it seems that it's a great place to have adventures. It's a great place if you want a game book that's set in a city to have lots of adventures, then this is the best place to do it. So, which is probably why you don't have a Salomonis game book, because Salomonis is a very peaceful city with a strong ruler and lots of law-abiding guards. So I expect a Salomonis game book would be you just wander around and buy some chicken or something.
The adventure in the town where everything is quite pleasant and you have a rather nice evening.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yes, that lasts about 3 sections. So Care and Blacksand, they're the sort of they're much more interesting places to have fun.
I think sometimes you turn up and the guards welcome you in, and in the I think it's basically the very first section in the book, after the background, after everything at Silverton, when you actually arrive at Port Blacksand. Section 1, you meet the guard and he basically tells you, no, go away.
Yes, exactly.
And you're just like, oh, well, this isn't going to be particularly easy then, is it?
No. Yes, it's not very welcoming, because it's not like, I assume you're not looking like the worst thief and cutthroat to go into Port Blacksand. Or maybe that's the problem, because it has a very powerful thieves guild if you read all the background. So maybe the guard is like, oh, this character doesn't look villainous enough. Well, obviously they're not going to add to the economy by bringing in loads of stolen booty. So I'll kick him out.
It's like
So
you let him in, and he's carrying a big bag with swag written on it.
exactly, yeah. He's like, well, he's an active contributor to local business. That's why, he's bringing business to the city.
Port Blacksand it feels such a lively area as you play through the book. Once you get past the guard, we'll get to how you got past the guard in a little bit. But once you're past it, it starts to describe the buildings, the crowds, and it's always quite bustling, or some of the streets are quite desolate. It always feels very alive, and I found that was quite a big change from the books immediately preceding it.
Well, yes, because the one immediately preceding it was sort of Starship Traveller.
Traveller, yes.
Yes.
It was a little bit different.
It was. You were going in a sort of parallel universe trying to get home, and I mean, yes, the illustrations of Starship Traveller were quite minimalist, and some of the planets didn't have very many people, and it was like a vast universe. Which definitely, yes, there's a complete difference. I mean, it's not just the fact that it's sci-fi and one's fantasy; it's the fact that Starship Traveller, you seem to be going to lots of empty planets, and then this one, there's all kinds of colourful characters.
But it's quite different from the fantasy ones earlier as well, of which there were three: Warlock of Firetop Mountain, Citadel of Doom, Death.
Chaos,
yes, and Forest of Doom. It's always something of something. And this was the first one that was set in an urban kind of environment. The first two were kind of like the first one was a very classic dungeon in Warlock of Firetop Mountain. The second one was a kind of an almost pseudo abandoned citadel full of monsters. Well, it's not really abandoned if it's full of monsters. And then you kind of have Forest of Doom, which does feel like a dungeon. It's kind of like a dungeon that's been reskinned into a forest. So it still kind of has that same vibe, I think. Whereas City of Thieves was probably the first where it felt distinctly undungeon-like.
Yes, there's more interactions, options, because like you say, in the first three, if you offer the chance of an interaction without having to kill someone, like having to automatically try and kill someone, it was like, do you talk to them or do you try and kill them? And then there's about a section where they talk to you, and that's it. But here there's sort of more conversation options. The guard, you have two conversation options before attacking them, which is a lot more than you'd probably see in the other three, Citadel or Warlock or Forest. And then there's lots of other. In fact, most of these encounters you can get through without fighting at all, and having a nice conversation, and some of them even want to have conversations with you back. Whereas, like you say, in the dungeons, in Warlock and Citadel and the Forest of Doom, it was usually it usually ended with a fight, even if you didn't want to start one.
I think it was. It felt like a very real evolution of the series at that point, I think.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was good. It was when they were trying to experiment a bit more. They sort of done 3 dungeons, and then Steve Jackson didn't seem to want to do the same thing twice, so he went straight to doing a sort of Star Trek game book. And then Ian Livingstone came with City of Thieves and decided that he didn't want to just do a dungeon in a city, I guess, which I guess he could have done, but he decided to add more to the sort of the encounters, rather than just making them either, do you fight this thing, or do you sort of talk to this thing and then fight it because it doesn't want to talk to you, and sort of there's lots of, and I think all the encounters, pretty much all the encounters, are sort of, you'd believe that they were in a city like this at least.
Let's
So
go.
there's nothing.
Let's go through some of the encounters. Tell people about the kind of things that they can get up to. So once you're past the guard, which I think I kind of tried to bribe the guard to let me past. How did you get past the guard?
Oh, well, since I had a skill of 12, I got really confident and just attacked the guy.
Of course. I mean, it works.
Well, yes, but then I forgot that there's actually a luck test, because the guard could ring a bell to summon some other guards, but fortunately I was lucky that time. So I think Ian Livingstone was trying to make sure you can't just go around attacking everybody, for practical reasons, if not moral reasons. But yeah, I got lucky, and then I defeated the guard in fewer than 6 attack rounds, so it wasn't too much of a problem.
And of
But
course,
of
course, from that point on, you've got the guards basically keeping an eye open for you and looking out for you wherever you go.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the guards don't seem to do much crime fighting in this city. I interacted with that guard by attacking them, and then I found some other guards who were chasing a man who said he was innocent, but they thought he was an escaped murderer. And they don't say which one's true, but it might be either. Yeah, and then. The last encounter I had with the guards was 2 trolls who just approached me because they wanted to extort money out of me, basically. So, yeah, you can't really trust the authorities in Port Blacksand.
I mean, they do hire for guard duty 2 trolls.
Yes.
Big nose and sour belly.
Exactly. So that says a lot about the place if that's the kind of characters they're hiring as guards. Yeah. So yeah, there wasn't. So the only crime fighting I saw them doing was catching an escaped prisoner who may or may not have been a murderer,
or may have just not been paying his taxes.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yes, that's probably the more likely reason. So yes, taxis could include things that the city guard make up on the spot as well.
True.
So I fought the guard who don't do any crime fighting. So you tried to bribe the guard, which is perfectly fine. And so yes, did that go okay?
It went okay. Yeah. We got into the city, and once you're past the guard, you kind of enter I want to say a relatively safe area of the city where you can kind of like explore relatively freely, and this kind of like goes to the kind of structural map of a lot of the fighting fantasy books. They're kind of where the paragraphs and the passages that you can take form into like a map where you can see the flow of the adventure, and the flow for City of Thieves. Once you're into that part. Gives you a variety of different streets that you can go down, which eventually, inevitably, lead to the market square, where you can have a bunch of encounters, possibly stock up on some items if you have any gold left. There are so many pickpockets, so many chances to lose your gold.
Exactly. Yes.
And from there you go to the river where you I think it's like, is it inevitable that you meet Nicodemus there? Because I've never not.
It is. So there's plenty of places where you can find out he lives under the bridge, the Singing Bridge. But when you get there, there's an option to go across it or go under it. But if you go across it, I think I don't remember what you do because I didn't take this option, but I think you have some kind of small penalty and then you go under it anyway. So, so it's inevitable that you meet him because then he gives you the aim for the second half of the book.
Yeah.
After you're sort of happy wandering around.
So it gives you that kind of freedom, but it's also quite linear in that you get to explore different parts of the city. You can go like down what was it, like Coin Street, Bank Street, Candle Street, I remember. Have your encounters at the market square, but you'll always eventually get to Nicodemus, and you get the kind of freedom up until that point, and then it's after that when everything kind of gets the kind of gets the business there.
Yes. Well, yes, because that's when Nicodemus tells you how to slay Zambar Bone, and it's a very convoluted way because.
Oh God, yes, it is.
So, should we go through what you've got to do now?
Yes, you have to recover three mystical items.
Yes, well, that's to make some powder to rub into his eyes. So they're black pearls, a black lotus flower, and a piece of hag's hair. And so you have to powder those. You have to sort of grind those all up together to rub into his eyes.
Which, to this date, I have only ever been able to procure 2 of those.
Well, I've got a lot to say about that when we get to that point about procuring 2 of those. Or we could talk about it now.
But that's not all you have to get, is it? Because it's never easy in these books.
Well, no, because Zambar Bone's not just going to let you rub some powder in his eyes. So you've also got to get a silver arrow to shoot into his heart, which doesn't kill him, but it just paralyzes him. So that's the other one. And then finally, you have to have a tattoo. Oh yeah, you have to have a tattoo because Zambar Bone has an entrancing stare. So he'd hypnotize you straight away if you didn't have this. And so you need a tattoo of a white unicorn in a yellow sun tattooed on your forehead.
And you have to think at this point that Nicodemus is just pulling your leg.
Well, yeah. I mean, how do people find out these things? It's, yes, yeah. It's like, is really?
He's sitting there behind this big table, wearing the cloak, and saying, "You need to get the tattoo of a unicorn, and make sure it's on your forehead." And don't worry, I'm not recording this or putting it on YouTube. It'll be hilarious. Just come back with the tattoo on your forehead where we can all see it. It'll be lovely.
Exactly. And then he'll tell you that actually Zambar Bone, you just need to hit him with a hammer and he'll fall to pieces. But,
it doesn't actually have hypnotic powers at all.
Exactly. But it's a great looking tattoo.
And the thing is, they actually reference the tattoo in one of the later books as well, don't they?
If you're talking about the Blacksand Advanced Fighting Fantasy book,
That's the one.
Yes. So that's Advanced Fighting Fantasy. So the book says that if you've sort of created an Advanced Fighting Fantasy character that sort of played City of Thieves as their background, then in the Advanced Fighting Fantasy adventure in Blacksand, where you go to Blacksand, that would cause you a lot of trouble because you have a white unicorn with a yellow tattoo on your forehead, which... Oh, and also in Dungeoneer as well. In fact, yeah, it causes loads of trouble. But I remember now, you can have the High Priest remove it with a miracle, because your mission is so important that the gods in Salamonis will remove it. Either that or
I just
was good. You just what? Sorry.
I just loved that. I thought that was a wonderful little kind of like an Easter egg before Easter eggs were a thing.
Oh, yeah, yes, because I expect some people were thinking, what's this all about? And then people who'd read City of Thieves were like, oh, I know this. Wow.
You just pick it up when you're on holiday to Blackpool one year, and and you're just like, okay, if you have a tattoo of a unicorn on your forehead, and you're just thinking, okay, I didn't have one, but I kind of want one now.
Yes. I wonder if there is anyone out there with a tattoo of a unicorn on their forehead.
If you do, please leave us a comment.
Exactly. Brilliant. So, and if any sort of necromancers start attacking nearby, we'll give you a call.
So Nicodemus gives you the legendary Fighting Fantasy grocery list of everything that you need to go and get to defeat the evil necromancer. And from that point on, the adventure kind of you get to kind of see quite a bit of the format that the series would kind of call back to several times, where you are searching out particular items or mystical objects and so on, in order to locate them to take on the big bad at the end of the adventure.
Yes.
And you did really well with that on this playthrough, and I did not.
I did. Well, I don't. Yeah, I see. They stick in my head a lot. Fighting fantasy books, which is probably why I'm a fan. So I managed to find everything. As long as you can vaguely remember which streets they're on, you're okay, because a lot of the places are pretty logical. Like the Silver Arrow, you come across a silversmith, so that's okay. As long as you go in there and don't attack him, then you'll get a Silver Arrow. And then you come across a tattooist, which makes sense for the place to get the tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some people who give you clues, like you can come across some fishwives, and they'll tell you that there's a hag, that hags live in the sewers. I was quite impressed that you walked up to these fishwives and told them all these things that you needed, and they didn't seem very sort of bothered by it. They just sort of tried to help you. It was very kind of them. I don't know if they thought how strange you were about it, but there we go. Yeah.
So one of the
and then,
go on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Then the Black Lotus Flower is in a garden, in the public gardens, which makes sense. And
That's
then
so easy
the
to
Black
find
Pearls
that one.
Yeah, the Black Pearls are on a pirate ship, which sort of probably makes sense when you think about it. That probably wouldn't have been the first guess for where to find Black Pearls, but if you think about it, that's probably a logical place to put some Black Pearls.
Sneaking aboard the pirate ship is just a great little sequence in and of itself.
Yes. Oh, yes. I do like the pirate. Yes. Did you go on the pirate ship?
Yes, I was able to on this playthrough acquire the Black Pearl without any problems.
Oh, brilliant. And then did you also meet the captain as well in the other room?
Unfortunately.
Oh, yes. Are you saying unfortunately because of what he was doing at the time?
Yes. You get to enjoy the pleasures of the pirate captain. I cannot remember his name. As he's reclining in a lovely steaming hot bath, just enjoying the bath.
Letting it all soak in, yeah.
Yes.
Letting all his stresses soak away.
Yes. I mean, he's a pirate. He's obviously had a rough week.
Well, yes. All the looting and plundering, I'm sure. It really takes it out of you, I'm sure. So yeah, what better way to end sort of looting ships on the seven seas by having a nice bath. So yeah, I can't remember his name either. You don't really see much about him. Well, you see everything of him. You don't really see much spend much time with him, but yeah, you sort of interrupt his bath and sort of he gives you a bit of useful information, and then he probably probably switches to showers after that.
Yeah, you
where
kind
you
of
can-
you kind of wish that you got that information from somewhere else, anywhere else.
Exactly. I don't. Yeah, I don't think he tells you his name. He just tells you that there's a silversmith on Clog Street, but that's it.
Eventually, you get to the silversmith, and you hopefully have enough gold put by to get the silver arrow which you need.
Well, yes. Blacksand. If you know what to do, you can get quite a lot of gold. And I don't think it's the silversmith that does this, but the tattooist. You can pawn off all your items if you don't have enough money, so that's pretty good. It's quite. Did you have enough money for the silversmith?
I did not. I lost a whole lot of gold in the marketplace.
Yes. Well,
It was tragic.
yes. Yes, you can lose gold sort of having a cannonball tossing competition, can't you? And then you automatically lose gold when you're throwing eggs at somebody in the stocks. So it can be quite difficult. I was lucky. I found a very rich man and stole all his gold. And then when he tried to lightning bolt me, I had the magical item that protected me, which I'd found on a couple of goblins, because it seems that everybody in Port Blacksand seems to have a magic item if you kill them.
Yeah, it's generally to stop rich people lightning bolting you when you steal their money.
Exactly.
And that wasn't the end of my woes, though, because I think we both got the black lotus flower from the gardens, but you were able to find a way into the sewers to get the hag's hair.
Yes. I can't remember which street it's on now, but I did. The fishwives tell you where the hags live. I also got a potion of mind control from some bays, who are a race of creatures invented by Livingstone, seemingly for the pun of Bay's ball. So they look like little goblin type creatures, but they're called bays because you can't call it goblin ball. You need to make a baseball fantasy analog, and then you call it Bay's ball based on bays. Yes. I mean, they seem to be purely invented for that reason, because they never turn up in any fighting fantasy books I can remember again. They're literally just there for the pun of Bay's ball. But there we go. That's title.
I think we can count them as one of the one-hit wonders of the series.
Well, yes. Well, yeah. One hit in a sort of literal term, because you're playing baseball and you hit the ball.
So you acquired all of the items you could, you needed, whereupon the book is nice enough to tell you that you don't actually need all of the items.
Well, yes, and this is where, after thinking about it, I have a bit of an issue, because if you don't have all the items, it tells you it's failed. But if you hung around for a bit and waited for this little bird to appear with a little message on its sort of toe telling you that you didn't need all the items, then you might not have failed. So yeah, I obviously put too much thought into this book, but yeah, that was something I thought about. So you only need 2 of the 3 items to make the powder. So the items are hag's hair, black pearls, and black lotus. And I love Nicodemus's letter. Do you? Yeah. Shall I explain why I like? Well,
yes.
I don't love it. So Nicodemus says you only need 2 out of the 3 items, and then he says, I can only suggest you try the hag's hair and the black pearls together, or the hag's hair and the lotus flower together, or the black pearls and the lotus flower together.
You're just like, thanks, Nicodemus. You're not just continuing to wind me up at this point, are you? Yes, you can use 2 of them, but I can only suggest all the possible combinations of the 2 that you can get. He is.
yeah, he's got varying levels of helpfulness, hasn't he?
I think he has the world's worst sense of humour.
Well, yes, exactly. It's like, yeah. So now I've got you to have a tattoo, and now you don't need 3 of the items; you just need 2 of them. So,
But I'm not telling
yeah,
you which to.
yeah, exactly. He's probably having a good old chuckle back in his little huts, just think, oh yeah, another mug. I've made him get a tattoo on his forehead, and now I'm going to tell him that he only needs 2 of them. So there we go. And I had another thought about this as well. If you grind up all 3, then you include the 2 that you need. So you could just grind up all 3 anyway.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
So yeah, it's just sort of, yeah, the whole thing sort of is suspicious. Yeah, it's probably just some elaborate practical joke that Nicodemus is playing on you.
I mean, I don't think Zambar Bone would mind. He's being defeated by an upstart warrior anyway. So yeah, good point.
Exactly. So yeah, Nicodemus, he's he's funny. I mean, he's had a long adventuring life, so he probably just wants to kick back and play some practical jokes on some younger adventurers, thinking they've got it too easy.
It's understandable.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is City of Thieves, and you did remarkably well. Did you actually defeat Zambar Bone?
I did. Yeah. So like I say, so after you've made yourself a little bow for some branches and ground up the powder, and had a wandering monster encounter, you fight some moon dogs, which are the toughest. Unavoidable, moon dogs. I'm trying to sound like David Book. You do it better than I do, yeah. So they're like the toughest unavoidable fights because one's skill 11, stamina 9. But after that, it's kind of just it's make it. If you know the choices, you don't really need to roll very much. So. I did kill him. The only roll you need to make when you're trying to kill Zambar Bone is a luck test to see if the silver arrow pierces his heart. But since you already have all the items, there's no other sort of test about that. You do have to find a magical item in the tower. Oh, should we talk about the tower then? Now that we've...
I think we'll... shall we leave that for people to discover on their own, I think.
So yeah,
want to leave some secrets. Yeah, we'll leave some secrets.
Yeah, exactly.
For people.
Exactly. You've got to explore the tower a bit, but if you have the right items, then nothing will be a problem. Apart from you fight some skeletons, but compared to the moon dogs, they're a piece of cake.
Well, Zambar Bone's a skeleton.
Yeah, exactly. I think he makes them from his teeth. Oh yeah, he pulls 3 teeth from his mouth and throws them to the floor. And then they turn into skeletons. So,
if his teeth turn into skeletons, do his skeleton's teeth turn into skeletons too?
They don't do that in the book, but that makes you think about it, doesn't it?
It's
like that would just you create a very big army of skeletons in a very short amount of time if you could do that.
I mean, depends. You could always go to one of the dentists in Port Blacksand to get a nice set of false teeth.
Exactly.
Just go back to it every few weeks. Build up a fairly nice army.
Yeah, exactly. That would solve. I mean, he could have just done that, but yes, he just did it with 3. He just did it with 3 of his teeth. So maybe those are his skeleton teeth, and yeah, they're pretty easy to defeat, and they don't pull out their teeth. I think these are pretty bog standard skeletons. I don't think they've got any special skeleton teeth powers, which is a shame.
That we know of.
That we know of, yeah. Where you kill them before they show off their powers. They probably just wanted to show their teeth pulling powers, but there we go.
So that
and then
that is the climax really of the adventure, for which you have succeeded, noble adventurer, and brought death to the foul necromancer warlock Barbone, and rescued essentially rescued the entire town of Silverton.
which is good. Yes, it's good. And actually, the ending's pretty good. Actually, I want to point out a couple of things in the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, it's nice to know that the tower doesn't collapse when Zambarbone dies, because that's a typical thing that happens when you kill an evil sort of magic user, isn't it? Their tower normally collapses.
Well, they can't really afford, bricks and mortar, so they generally just have to use their own magical essence. It's a lot cheaper.
Exactly. But Zambarbone's obviously richer than the average evil wizard, because his tower doesn't collapse. He just says that you leave it, which is nice, because you're probably a bit tired after that. And then afterwards, so yes, the people of Silverton give you a hero's welcome, and the reward is a gold orb worth hundreds of gold pieces, they say. Which I read that and thought, what are you supposed to do with that? Who's gonna? and then I think that Owen Caroliff, the mayor, I think he's just palming it off onto you because he can't sell it. And
how do you remember the mayor's name?
I'm looking at the book right now.
It just gives you the gold orb, and it's just like, my granddad gave it to me. It's useless.
It's your problem now.
I can't sell it. No one's got that much money. And it's also cursed.
So yeah, probably, because
everything is.
Yeah, it is. Half the things, half the magic items you find are cursed in some way. So, so that's, so you go to that effort, and then you get some kind of thing that you can't sell that's probably cursed. So,
thanks.
Yeah, thanks a bit. Yeah.
But nevertheless, would you like to give City of Thieves a score? We haven't at this point discussed what our podcast scoring system should be, have
we? We haven't.
Nope.
There's a we could discuss it now. There's a scoring system on a podcast I listen to that has two people that might work for us as well, because it's when each person gives a mark out of 5 and then it's added up to a mark out of 10.
That sounds good.
I could name the podcast if you want. It's got nothing to do with game books, but I can name the podcast.
Well, shall we name what we're going to give out of 5? 5 what's out of 5?
What's suitably fighting fantasy based? 5. Or we could change it every time. 5 gold orbs.
5 400s.
5 400s. That's good.
Oh no, that's just going to get really confusing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because people are going to be multiplying it by 400. So what's fighting fancy? 5 Zagors?
Yes, 5 Zagors.
Okay.
5 skeleton teeth.
5 skeleton teeth. Yes, we could do a different version each time, an appropriate version. So
that works.
Yeah. So I go first?
I mean, you won.
Oh yes, that's true. I'll try not to win every time. People are going to start winning spit. I might, if I get a really good score next time, I might video my roll just to prove I'm not cheating.
That sounds good.
So City of Thieves. So yeah, it's in Livingstone. For an in Livingstone book, it's quite forgiving, which means that you actually have a chance of beating it fairly. And it does lots of things I love, which is a bit of wandering around, which is nice because I don't like too linear books. And there's a chance of getting very rich if you know what you're doing, and collecting a load of valuable stuff. So I'm going to give it 3.5 skeleton teeth out of 5.
I like that. I'm going to give 4 skeleton teeth out of 5. which is only one half of a tooth more than yourself. And I don't know if it's the left half or the right half. It could be the top or the bottom of the tooth. I'm not too sure.
Or it could be the nerve bits rather than the hard bit, or the hard bits.
Yeah.
Whichever half you like.
And the only reason I'm giving it 4 is because it was one of the first Final Fantasy books that I ever read.
Well, yeah, they always have a special place in your heart, don't they?
They really do.
First one.
They really
So
do.
yes, yeah. So yes, mine was Talisman of Death, which, I know what you mean. It's yes, they're like, it opens up a whole new world. So
now it's not Talisman of Death that we're reading next, is it? But it is one that you've chosen. What have you chosen for us?
It's not actually. Didn't you choose House of Hell?
I don't know. I might have done. I don't remember what order we're doing these in.
Oh, so
we're so professional, people. We're so professional.
I just like I didn't put it in a you me order because so House of Hell was your choice, and the reason
we're doing House of Hell next.
Yeah.
Okay. Next we're doing House of Hell.
Yay. And the reason is because City of Thieves is a classic Livingstone book, and House of Hell is a classic Jackson book.
That is too, yes.
Yeah. So I thought we'd start with the classics and then bring in the sort of ones that did something a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So House of Hell, excellent. Which I don't know as well as City of Thieves, so I'm probably going to die horribly in House of Hell.
But have you completed it before?
I have, but it was probably about 20 odd years ago.
Yeah, about the same.
So yeah, I vaguely remember, because you have a fear score for this one, I vaguely remember that if your fear score is below a certain number, you can't win anyway. So there we go.
So we'll see how we do. Everyone, check in with us in 7 days' time as we explore the horrors of the House of Hell. You have been listening to the podcast on Firetop Mountain. I'm Alison Cybe.
I'm Stuart Lloyd.
And we will catch you next time. The podcast from Firetop Mountain is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, ring the bell and do all the other things you need to do in order to get another season of the podcast from Firetop Mountain.